Hi, I'm Asim. I'm going to break down the news from using clips from Al Jazeera, BBC News, Sky News, and all the other major outlets. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.
Do you think what's going on in Gaza now is a genocide?
I don't. I don't think it's a genocide, but I think I think it is, without a doubt, true that Israel has committed war crimes.
You wouldn't have said that at the podium.
Yeah, look, because when you're at the podium, you're not expressing your personal opinion. You're expressing the conclusions of the United States government. The United States government had not concluded that they've committed war crimes. Still have not concluded that.
But your personal view is they have.
Well, so
and they were while you were there.
But let me qualify that there are two ways to think about the commission of war crimes. One is if the state has pursued a policy to deliberately committing war crimes or is acting reckless in a way that aids and abets war crimes, and that I think is an open question. I think what is almost certainly not an open question is that there have been individual incidents that have been war crimes where members of the Israeli military.
These bloody hypocrites. I can't stand them.
Military have committed war crimes. So ultimately, in almost every major conflict, including conflicts prosecuted by democracies, you will see individual members of the militaries commit war crimes, and the way you judge a democracy is whether they hold those people accountable.
But Israel hasn't. That's been one of the.
No, that's my point.
Right.
Is we have not yet seen them hold sufficient numbers of the military accountable, and I think it's an open question whether they're going to.
I'm really struck that you think now that Israel did commit war crimes, and yet at the time, and I get why, but at the time you were at the podium and you couldn't say that. I mean, personally, that must be very difficult.
Been 19 months and they haven't done anything. What the heck, man?
So the State Department itself had concluded, not in these, they didn't phrase it in these terms, but I think I did at the podium a few times, had concluded that it was likely that Israel had committed war crimes. But I do think it's almost certain that they have.
That's what happened. Look at this. Kids be complicit in genocide. That's what happens.
Hello, I am currently standing on the Madeleine, the ship that on Sunday, June 1st, will attempt to again sail towards Gaza and to try to break the siege and open up a humanitarian corridor.
Yeah, I hope you'll be safe, down there in Gaza. Shit. The IDF might just end up shooting them,
aid like
blaming is Hamas, Hamas this, Hamas that.
The last time we attempted this, about a month ago, the boat Conscience that we were about to board, just a couple of hours before we were planning to board and set sail, it got bombed twice, and all evidence suggests that it was Israel who did it.
Oh my god.
So now we are here in Catania, outside of Sicily, to try to continue our mission to try again. Because currently we are watching a systematic starvation of 2 million people, a live stream genocide, and the world's silence is deadly. That is why we have to keep trying everything we can, even if the odds are against us, to try to protest and do everything we can to stand against Israel's atrocities and war crimes, and to support and stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine. So keep your eyes on deck, continue flooding the streets, organize, boycott, and do everything in your power to stand for Palestine.
Ya Allah. Ya Allah.
In the half-light before dawn, Palestinians lie in the sand, shots ringing out. This said to be when more than 30 people were killed near an aid distribution site on Sunday. Families today still receiving bodies for burial. Exactly what happened has been highly contested. The Israeli military saying it hadn't shot at Palestinians at or near the site, but multiple witnesses say they were shot at while trying to reach the site, belonging to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
The US and Israel,
every time this happens,
go and get your food and water and aid. When it arrives, they hit us. Is this fair? Those who go to get food from there, they die.
GHF has so far established 4 what it calls safe distribution sites inside Gaza. On Sunday morning, only one site, SDS-1, was due to open at 6 a.m. but from midnight already.
Would you put your life on the line for the Palestinian people? Like, this is something I've been thinking a lot about. You know, I'm 41 years old. I have no kids. I have no wife. I have no girlfriend. I am doing a job that anybody can learn to do. You know, I'm not using my college degree for anything, and I'm really not accomplishing anything. I'm just yelling into the void every day. And I started thinking, like, if some country came out and said, hey, we've got all the weapons, we just need bodies to go in and protect the Palestinian people and fight back the evil Zionist forces, would I go? And I'm starting to think that the answer is probably yes. Yes, I would go and lay down my life for the Palestinian people, because at least then my life would have some real use. I'd be accomplishing something good. And if I died, I would die fighting evil, and that's not such a bad way to go out. You know what I mean? The fact is, I believe that there is a massive pro-Palestinian army out there, and I believe that all the necessary weapons exist to arm that army and put a stop to Israel. All these governments around the world.
So you watched the Hunger Games and you sided with the resistance. You watched Star Wars and you sided with the resistance. You watched The Matrix and you understood and sided with the resistance. When it's fiction, you understand and you side with the resistance. Yet when it's happening to you in real life, right now, in the news, in the world, right now, you refuse to see it. When it's the reality that you are living in. You're afraid to resist in real life.
Britain must be ready for war, and every citizen must play their part. That's a message from the Strategic Defence Review,
They ain't fighting for no war.
which, I'll be honest, is not exactly a reassuring read. And you're going to hear an awful lot of people talking about the need for Britain to spend more on defence, a lot more, because the world is a lot more dangerous. You'll hear military chiefs saying it, politicians saying it, and this man, the Prime Minister.
A new era in the threats that we face demands a new era for defence and security. Not just to survive in this new world, but to lead. We will never gamble with our national security. Instead, we will act in the national interest.
Now, I just want to give a different perspective. Not because any of that is not true, it is true. But this is being presented as if we don't have a choice but to spend more money on defence. And that isn't true, because there is always a choice. Only 5 of the 30 NATO members spend 3% of GDP on defence, so it's clearly a choice. And right now, we are weeks away from an extremely difficult spending review, where schools and hospitals will be scrambling for money, where the police will be squeezed, where councils will be staring bankruptcy in the face. So look, spending more on defence is a choice, and it's a choice that has consequences. And there is another point that I want to make too, because if there is one criticism of Keir Starmer, and this is something I'm picking up from some natural allies of him, it's that he's not been engaged enough in the domestic, the bin collections, the nuances of the welfare changes. Just think about how long it took to U-turn on winter fuel. He's not a micromanager, which can be a good thing, but he's left an awful lot to Rachel Reeves. Keir Starmer isn't the first leader who seems more comfortable on the world stage than the domestic one. They all get sucked into the glamour of international summits and urgent calls with other world leaders. But you know what? Spending money on tanks is not going to win elections, no matter how important it sounds, no matter how many slaps on the back you get from the president. I want to make it clear it is just one perspective, but it's an important perspective.
We've got to stop them getting colonised by Russia, and that's why we're sending military assets. Well, if that's the case, stopping colonisation, well, why don't we send military assets to Palestine? They're getting colonised too. And these colleagues will be like, what? You want us to send money to the Taliban? No, that's Afghanistan. It's Afghanistan. Mate, same different tea towel. Listen, mate. There's a way white supremacy works, right? Let me break it down for you, all right? As a government, we only back our preferred white country, all right? So with Israel, Palestine, pretty straightforward, mate. Israel every day, all right? With Russia, Ukraine, a little confusing because they're both white, but, Russia, a bit Chinesey. That's why we support Ukraine. Israel, Palestine, mate, that's basic, all right? It's like cricket, all right? It's like cricket. This will help you understand. So if Australia's playing England, who do we support? Australia. Right? England's playing Pakistan, we'll go for England. New Zealand's playing England, we'll go for New Zealand. Pakistan's playing Afghanistan, who gives a shit, I'm not watching. Unless it's like a day-nighter, then I'll watch because the ball is white. We'll go for the ball, but otherwise, I don't give a shit. And that's why we support Israel.
Leave a comment down below. Thank you.